Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to today's science session. Now I hope you had lots of fun last week choosing one of the habitats and researching and finding out as many facts as you can about that place. Hopefully you found out about some of the plants and the animals that live there and you were able to put together a fact file all about it. Well, today we're going to think a little bit more about how animals are suited to their habitats. And then we're really going to focus on how living things in a habitat depend on each other. What does that word mean, depend? Now, before we think about what it means for living things to depend on the habitat that they live in, let's have a quick revisit to some of the world habitats that we looked at last week. Can you remember some of them? We've got the rainforest, Arctic, ocean, and the desert. So before we begin our lesson today, I'd like you to have a think about some of these key questions. What are ocean habitats like? Can you remember some of the plants or animals that live there? What is the Arctic habitat like? Can you remember some of the plants and animals that live there? What are tropical rainforest habitats like? Can you remember some of the plants and animals that live there? And finally, what is a desert habitat like? Can you think of any of the plants and animals that like to live here? Now, on Monday's email, you would have been sent our game of the World Habitat. I'd like you to print it off or have it available on the screen in front of you. So we're going to play a game to see what you know about the way that living things survive in their habitat. So to play the World Habitat game, each player needs a habitat board. So in the email that was sent to you on Monday, there were 4 different habitat boards, so you'll need one each. Once you've done that, you'll need to cut out all the living thing cards and then shuffle them up and place them face down in the middle of the table or the area that you're using. So it says here that the youngest player can start first, but it's up to you who starts first. But you're going to take it in turns to pick up a card from the top of the pile on the table. The person who's chosen the card needs to read the name and the description of the plant and animal on the card. The player then needs to decide which of the habitats that living thing belongs in. So does it belong in the tropical rainforest? Does it belong in the desert? Does it belong in the ocean? Or is it more suited to the Arctic? If the other players agree, then they can keep the card. If the player has not guessed the right habitat, the card goes to the bottom of the pile. If all the players can't agree which habitat a living thing belongs in, the player needs to ask an adult. And the winner is the first player to get all 8 living thing cards in a single habitat. So just to give you a little bit more information, at the bottom of each living thing card, there's the picture of the animal, the name of the animal, and the description. And the description really gives you a good clue of which habitat that animal lives in. Have fun playing that, and then send me the pictures once you've finished. Earlier on, I asked you to think about what the word depend means. What does it mean when a living thing depends on its habitat? It means that they need each other to stay alive. So without that habitat, it wouldn't be able to live. So let's have a look at this example on the screen. Squirrels and oak trees are part of a woodland habitat. Why do you think that squirrels need an oak tree to stay alive? Well, The oak tree gives the squirrel food. Acorns are a squirrel's favourite food. The oak tree gives the squirrel safety. Living high in an oak tree gives squirrels protection from foxes and badgers and gives them a safe place to have their babies. And the oak tree also gives the squirrel shelter. The oak tree protects the squirrel from the wind, the cold and the rain, and bigger animals. Why does an oak tree need a squirrel? The oak tree needs the squirrel to spread its seeds. The squirrel collects lots of acorns and buries them to save them for later. It carries them far away from the tree and hides them under the ground, away from other animals. Sometimes the squirrels forget to go and dig them back up again. And these acorns grow into brand new oak trees. So you can see that the squirrel needs the oak tree and the oak tree needs the squirrel. The squirrel needs the oak tree for food and shelter. The oak tree needs the squirrel to spread seeds so new trees can grow. The oak tree and the squirrel depend on each other. This means they need each other to stay alive. So now we've added the fox into the mix. Why do foxes need squirrels? Foxes eat squirrels. Why do foxes need oak trees then? Well, if there were no oak trees, there would be less squirrels, so there would be less food for the foxes. Can anyone think how the foxes are helping the oak trees? If there were no foxes, there would be more squirrels, and the squirrels might eat all of the acorns, and then no new oak trees would ever grow. All of the living things in this habitat depend on each other to survive. So today, your job is going to be to choose one of the habitats. So you can choose the desert, the Arctic, the tropical rainforest, or the ocean. You will see on a separate page that there are some labels. So you need to cut them all out, each one individually, and you need to stick the labels onto the habitat to show how the living things in the habitat work together. Once you've done that, you will need to complete the sentences to show how animals and plants depend on each other to stay alive. Okay, so let's take a closer look. So here we've got the picture of the desert habitat, and I can see that there are 4 boxes that need to be put in the right place. And each of these boxes are pointing to something in the picture. And at the bottom on our label sheet, we've got plants, birds, insects, and desert foxes. So you will need to cut each of these labels out and you'll need to stick them in the correct place. So for example, desert foxes would go in this box because it's pointing to the desert fox. Now you might want to do all of these today because it won't take you very long. So we've got the desert habitat, the Arctic habitat, and the rainforest habitat. So this one is for the desert, this one is the Arctic, and this one is the rainforest habitat. So once you've cut them out, you need to stick them in the correct place. So straight away, monkeys. So that's going to go on the monkey box. And it tells you monkeys live in trees and eat fruit, insects, frogs, and birds. So don't forget, once you've stuck them on, have a really good read of the information because it will tell you a little bit more information about how these living things live together. Once you've done that, at the bottom of each of these sheets, there is a sentence that you need to finish. We've got all the words in the word bank on the right. Plants need animals to food, spread seeds, eat, or shelter. Plants need animals to spread seeds, so you'd write that in the gap. So you need to choose the correct word for each gap in the sentence. And that's the end of today's science lesson. I hope you all enjoyed it, have lots of fun playing the game, and lots of fun cutting out all those labels and sticking them in the right place. Bye for now and enjoy the rest of the day.